Hello, I am Donald Woods, and I'm here to give a presentation on survey technology, more importantly, how it could be used in schools. What is a survey? A survey is a statistical method of data collection of a group or population of people to learn about their behavior, beliefs, experiences, opinions, etc. by a series of questions or prompts that are answered by the target group or population. Here, we will call them respondents. Survey methodology fundamentals were established circa the 1930s. They had been around longer, but not formally. But it wasn't until the 1960s that the use of these surveys began expanding. For example, the government began more formally tracking social behavior, such as smoking and drinking, and commercially, companies are used surveys to track consumer habits. There are two main forms of surveys. The first is done by either paper or electronically, where the respondent themselves reads the questions or prompts and answers them directly. The second form is verbal, where a proctor, or a person who wishes to get information using a survey, orally gives the questions prompts, and also records the answers from the respondent. Polls are an example of the latter, where a pollster will call up a person on the phone, ask them questions about whatever topic is happening in the news, and also record the respondent's answers. However, this presentation will focus on electronic forms of surveys. What's in a survey? There are different ways of getting information from the respondent. Listed here are some of the more popular ways of doing this. You have multiple choice, slide or star questions, comment box, drop-down menu, checkmark boxes, and ranking. Visually, here is an example of some of these. There's multiple choice. Here is the sliding star. Here is the what I would call open response, the fill in the blank. This is fill out the box. And then here is a ranking example. Now we're going to get into specifically electronic surveys. Electronic surveys can be done on a variety of electronic devices, such as desktops, laptops, tablets, smartboards, cell phones, and clickers. Clicker technology is a wireless device with buttons that can be used to select specific prompts given by a prompter. The selected answers are then collected and compiled by the proctor for analysis. Cell phones are the technology that is growing for use in survey technology in schools the fastest because of the rapid rise of students and caregivers with smartphones, that is, phones with internet access. Survey websites like SurveyMonkey, Zoho, Fluid Surveys, Key Survey, Get Feedback are well-known websites that offer free versions, are user-friendly, and can give minor data analysis. All of these websites offer more in-depth data analysis, but they require a subscription or fee to get those services. Survey technology uses in education. So here are some examples of where survey technology can be used at different levels of a school. Teachers use surveys as student assessments for understanding. Administrators can survey students about a particular activity. For example, near the end of the school year, many schools like to have a big celebration and let the students go out and get involved in a bunch of different playing activities, jolly jumpers, beanbag games, those types of things. And administrators could survey the students about what kind of things they would like to see for such an activity. Administrators could also ask teachers about a particular policy or reward. For example, at my school, when there is a particular testing that's kind of heavy or involves a lot of work, the administrators like to buy us some sodas or drinks from a local restaurant and will poll us, send us a survey as to what kind of a drink we would like for lunch, with our lunch, as a reward. Administrators could also reach out to the community for a particular input. For example, the administration could survey the community and ask them about particular dates, days of the week, times of the day that most people would be able to have free to attend the parent-teachers conferences. So that with the survey, if most people in the community could come on a certain day at a certain time, that might give more opportunities for a higher attendance during parent-teachers. Administrators asking for input allows staff and the community at large to feel included in some of the important decisions made for the school. Some benefits to surveys. They allow feedback from different levels of the school community that serves to increase communication among the various levels. Electronic surveys allow anonymity, produce more return responses, and more truthful answers. If people do not feel like they are being pressured or monitored on how they will answer surveys, most people tend to not only complete the surveys, but also will answer more truthfully and answer more of the survey questions. Teachers using surveys as assessments can get very quick feedback from students, especially since surveys that are done either by a clicker or by a cell phone can be done anonymously. And since it's anonymous, students will feel a lot less pressure to perform and potentially make a mistake in front of their peers, which can be bruising to some egos, social environment. And since it lessens stigma, they will be more inclined to participate. This also goes for teachers for administrator surveys as well. Administrators use surveys to boost morale or to gain recommendations from teachers to increase the efficiency of a process or procedure. For example, a school that has a practice tornado drill has their drill, and then afterwards the administrators could send out a survey to the teachers asking them how it went, if there were good things about it, if there were bad things about it, and if there were any recommendations of how the drill could be done better so that the students are put into the storm shelter safely but in a more timely manner. Questions like these could be very valuable for administrators, especially during important things like drills. There are also potential pitfalls to using surveys. As with anything that involves electronics, especially access to the internet, safety should always be in the forethought of everyone's minds, both educator and administrator alike, when using such devices, even with electronic surveys. Therefore, it is recommended that surveys should always be done by a legitimate, verified, well-known website to ensure privacy and security. This is not done as a slight against lesser known, less well-developed internet surveys. It's just that these larger websites have the resources to have better security and better privacy. Also, survey links should always be done in a public manner. No private links to avoid unprofessional behavior circumstances, or the potential for it, or even potential accusations. It is always important to follow the internet rules and guidelines of your district. This is to protect everybody at all levels: the parent, the student, the teacher, the administrator, and the school, all from potential abuse or accusations. Lastly, pitfalls are biases. A bias is simply a way of masking truth. And here are some examples that can come into that you must be aware of. A sample bias. A sample bias for a survey is simply the number of surveys that you send out versus the number that you get back. If you send out 100 and you get back 50, you got 50% of your surveys back. That means that potentially you are still missing 50% of the data that you need to make a good decision. This just has to be kept in mind. Formatting bias. This is a small thing for levels of schools, but sometimes the wording, the formatting, the way the order of the questions can produce the person taking the test to think a certain way and then answer accordingly. Response bias is a form of bias where the person answering the questions answers in a way that they think the surveyor wants them to answer, not what the actual truth is. Surveys have to assume also all respondents are truthful in their answers. So these are just some things that you have to take into account if you are going to do a more formal survey. Thank you for your time. I think survey technology is very important and is very useful at very different levels of a school for both teachers and administrators alike. And I think that as technology continues to get cheaper, smartphones become more readily available, that more students will have access to this, more caretakers will have access to this, and things like survey technology will be a lot more integrated into the schools and how they operate. Thank you very much.